اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم آتنا من لدنك رحمة وعلمنا من لدنك علما. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم. اللهم ألهمنا علما نفقه به أوامرك ونواهيك وارزقنا فهما نعرف فيه كيف نناجيك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافية يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أغننا بالعلم وزينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم إنا نستودعك ما قرأناه وما نقرأه في هذا المجلس وما قبله وما بعده، فاحفظه علينا حتى ترده إلينا وقت احتياجنا إليه يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أكرمنا بنور الفهم وأخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وافتح لنا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا حكمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم يا من مقاليد الأمور كلها بيده وإليه يرجع الأمر كله، يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم، افتح علينا فتحا قريبا. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وسدد لساني واهدي قلبي وافعل كذلك بأحبابي أبدا، وارزقنا كمال فتوح العارفين والفقه في الدين مع كمال الإخلاص والصدق واليقين والعافية والغنى والنصر والحفظ والنفع والانتفاع وخيرة الدارين وعلوم الأولين والآخرين. آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين 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 يا رب العالمين. الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله. We're continuing with our Minhaj al-Abidin. So today we're going to do Minhaj, inshallah. And we're going to continue with the last week we were at the section on now, right? On the we were not last week, 2 weeks ago, right? 2 weeks ago, we were doing on the hadith of Sayyidina Mu'adh. So if someone has the English book, you can share it for others to see. Right? Otherwise, I'll just be teaching like this lah. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I said, قال المؤلف رحمه الله تعالى ونفعنا به وبيعون في الدارين. من كتاب منهاج العابدين. منهاج العابدين إلى جنة رب العالمين، تأليف الإمام المجدد حجة الإسلام والمسلمين زين الدين أبي حامد محمد بن محمد بن محمد بن أحمد الغزالي الطوسي الطبراني الشافعي رضي الله عنه ونفعنا الله به بعنف الدارين. Right, from the book The Path of the Worshipful Servant to the Guidance of the Lord of the Worlds, by the scholar, the Mujaddid, the renewer of this religion, Hujjat al-Islam. There is a title that is unique to Imam al-Ghazali only, right? So he is the proof of the religion, right? Hujjat al-Islam, wal Muslimin, and of the believers, Zainuddin. He is the beauty of this religion. Abi Hamid Muhammad bin Muhammad bin Muhammad. And it is said that the secret Imam Ghazali is here. Right? That his secret is that his name is 3 Muhammads in a row. So it's Muhammad bin Muhammad bin Muhammad. Right? 3 Muhammads in a row, mashallah. Of the secrets of Imam Al-Ghazali. And mashallah, this is just to mention some things about Imam Al-Ghazali. And mashallah, because I'm doing this book again, as I mentioned, that this book should be done, it should be done over and over again. So I'm doing this book again with Hababa Aishullah now that she has begun classes on this book. Hababa also is doing this book. It is a book that they all love, like all of them, they love this book. So they will do this book over and over and over and over again. Mashallah, and you just like every time you learn this book, it's as if like it's the first time you're learning it, mashallah, every single time. Right. So nah, right. So of the things that I think that as we go along, I want I'll continue with what we're at, right? But then I will also like add on stuff lah, right? That I'm also like any stuff, any new stuff, even revised stuff, right, that we are learning, how I'll add on, right, to it, subhanAllah. And mashallah, like, she mentions a lot of things. Right, but last week she was talking about Imam Ghazali because we spent a few weeks on the tarjamah, on the this to speak about the author. Right, spent a few weeks just talking about the author himself, about Imam Ghazali and his entire journey, right, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Now, right, uh, so when we speak about Imam Ghazali's journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, we know that Imam Ghazali is one of the greatest of one of the greatest of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, so it is that it was said that Imam Ghazali, that he was given exceptional genius. He was given exceptional genius from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he very quickly, he rise in the field of knowledge, in the field of knowledge, in acquiring knowledge. And it's why when we read these books, to always have this in mind. Then Imam Ghazali writing this book at the end of his life, towards the end of his life, right? He's writing this, or what he's saying is really from a lot of experience. And his experience is something whereby like he really went down the very, very dark road of of the dunya. He really, really went down the very dark road of dunya, right, whereby it was all about fame, it was all about name, all about money, all about position and so on. Right? So he was there, right? But he was true to the knowledge that he was teaching, right? So because being true to the knowledge that he was teaching, right, to be true to it, right, he kept, questioning himself and questioning his intentions and questioning and questioning and questioning. And that is a sign of someone who is sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That they don't just, learn things or teach things without questioning themselves first and foremost, and just themselves. They just keep questioning themselves. And this has a lot to do with the hadith that we're going through here, with Sayyidina Mu'adh. Imam Al-Ghazali quotes this hadith in Bidat al-Hidayah, and he quotes it here in Minhaj al-Abidin, inshallah. He quotes it in both books. And probably this is the one hadith that really hits him very hard, right? Because anyway, it should hit all of us very hard, right? Because to be honest with yourself, right? So when we look at the life of Imam Ghazali, and that he left his entire position, and not only did he leave it once, so the first time he left it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compelled him to do so. Right? So in the sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused it such that whenever he would come in front of the people, he would be unable to speak. Right? This is unable to speak. And he couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. Right? He just couldn't speak whenever he was in front of the people. And he knew it was a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he has to leave his position. He has to. Right? And this is the importance of always checking yourself. Right? There is muhasabah. right? That is muhasabah. That means always, looking into your heart and checking yourself and checking your intentions and knowing why you do knowing why you do what you do, or why you say what you say and why you post what you post, right? Why? So it always goes back to the intentions of a person. Checking yourself, muhasabah, right? To have moments of silence and contemplation, right? To ponder, over your life and over where you're headed and over your things that are around you. And this will allow you to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? To have these silent moments. And this is the tragedy of our time, that we don't have silent moments anymore. Like, it's always a lot of noise. And noise in a sense, like noise in our head, noise in our phone, noise in our, a lot of conversations going on all the time. Right? So it is best, that if we can train ourselves, right, to have moments of quiet, right, so they can contemplate and get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the very least, is the very least, right, that, during our prayer, that to have to try and shut out all the conversations from our mind. And after our prayer, to have, all those moments of all those moments of have moments of quiet, like after our prayer, right? To connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the secret, behind praying your fard and then praying your sunnahs without speech in between. Right? There's a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about those who pray Maghrib and then they pray 6 rak'ats after Maghrib without speaking in between. Right? The hadith goes without speaking in between. Right? And the hadith, it shows us a secret that, of not connecting to the world, in between your prayers. Right. So subhanAllah, make it a point right now that when you go to pray, your phone is nowhere near you. I put it somewhere far away. When you go to pray, when I know of people, when they, people hear like that, right, when Maghrib comes in, mashallah, when Maghrib comes in, right, their phone is on aeroplane mode, right, and they leave their phone on airplane mode, from Maghrib all the way until they have prayed Ishraq the next day. Right, the entire time the phone is on airplane mode. Right, because whatever anybody might need, right, to them, like, if anybody needs anything, right, that is very, 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 very urgent, right, at that point in the night, or in this period, right, and then they will call the house. Right. So, but mashallah, they will just shut off their phone. So whenever I try and contact my teachers or whatever, I cannot contact them. I just know. And some of my teachers, even their phone will not be touched, right, from Maghrib until the next day. Like, so no matter what, I try and call them, I try and contact them, I try and that I know they will not look at their phone or on their phone, even it's not even on, until Zuhur. Right, then it gets on. MashaAllah. But is it really for us, you look at your time and see, like at least, before and after the prayer, right? There should be you should clean out, like clear out yourself, right? So that you don't bring all these conversations in. So much noise now time. So Imam Ghazali, he secluded himself, right? So we say that this is a thing that saved Imam al-Ghazali. Right? What saved Imam Ghazali was deep and long moments of contemplation. And that was the trait of the Prophet ﷺ, right? That he went deep and long moments of contemplation. And so and when he did that, like, he realized that he was being drowned in the dunya. He was being honest. His intellect was to the point whereby he was analyzing himself. Right. So he has all this knowledge, this great intellect in himself. And then to the point whereby he began to critique himself. And he had such strong intellect, he was doing a critic of everything around him. And then he began to critique himself, mashallah. And he was honest with himself and realized that he was drowning in the dunya, right? To come to conclusion, right? Because in contemplation, you actually come to conclusion about your problem, and you become honest with yourself. What is your problem? Right? Why are you the way you are? What is how do you work on yourself? and what are diseases that lie in your heart. And when I say, sometimes much like this, to say, when to say the statement, what's wrong with you, right? In Islam, it's a good statement. It's actually a positive statement. When I say, when I think to myself, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me, meaning what do I have to work on? Right? What do I have to work on? What are my diseases? What's the problem inside in myself? Right? And right now we're on the sixth hurdle in Minhaj al-Abidin, which is the hurdle of distractions, right? And also I find the hurdle of the nullifiers, of what destroys your actions, your deeds, right? And Imam Ghazali pays no attention anywhere in his book to anything of this dunya, right? So in every hurdle, he's only focused on worship, on ibadah, on piety, on righteousness. So he's doing an analysis of our righteous deeds. So he's not even talking about, like macro or things that are just, permissible with no virtue in it. Or like, you're not talking about any of these things. We're talking about the entire time in his book from hurdle one to hurdle seven, you are talking about what? Talking about righteous deeds. Right? So it's on a basis understood that you are doing righteous deeds. And that's the basis here in this book, mashallah. Right? That it's not even a question, right? Whether what about if I do this, but and it's a bad deed, but it's on a good intention. No, 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 no. This kind of things, like, it's not even, there's no discussion there. If something is a bad deed or even a makruh. Imam al-Haddad, he mentioned, Imam al-Haddad, he said that he never considered doing a macro in his life. Like, in his life, he never considered doing a macro in his life. Right, mashallah. And he would always reprimand himself on the weakness of his sunnah and his wajib, mashallah. And they continuously reprimand themselves. And that is how you improve yourselves. Right. So, and I was saying that, that Imam Ghazali, he kept asking himself, what is wrong with him? What is wrong with him? What is his problem? What is causing him to have a block between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And these are good questions, right? They are good questions to ask yourself, to push yourself, to improve yourself. Like, we are in a zaman whereby people are so afraid of these kind of questions, right? And they think that these kind of questions would paralyze you or run you down. When you sit there and you ask yourself, you sit there and after your prayer, you ask yourself, what is wrong with me? Why can't I focus in my prayer? What is wrong with me? Why is my dhikr so, like, so little? Right? Why am I falling short of my dhikr? What is wrong with me? Why can't I just read more Quran? Like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I control my temper? Right? Why is these kind of questions are good questions. Right? And you should ask kind of questions. Right? It's self-critiquing. You're self-critic. You're self-criticizing. And that is good. That is good. I mean, in a zaman where people they run away from criticizing themselves. Right? Because I don't know, like when you criticize yourself, you should move the path of solution, right? Right? You shouldn't be moving the path of despair. What's the point of criticizing when you're going to go the path of despair? Right? I mean, this is the whole point, is to search, to look for solution. So anyway, right, so if you do self-criticizing today and you do more of it, and it's called muhasabah. Self-criticizing is called muhasabah in Islam. It's a trait of the pious, trait of the righteous. Then look for solution. I place solution in your life. So if you say to yourself, why can't I find time for Quran? Like, why can't I find time for my zikr? Why can't I, and you say all these things to yourself, then you say to yourself, from your knowledge, you say to yourself, because you're not disciplined. You have no discipline in your life. You're just doing things and you're not disciplined on your time. Right? You're not following a proper tartib, you're not following a proper schedule. Right? And scheduling is very important in Islam. Right? Or you say, because you spend too much time on the media, or if I spend too much time watching junk, or you spend too much time, say, be frank with yourself. Like, you're surfing too much, scrolling too much, right? And then once you identify what is the problem, right, then you put in the solution. Okay, so from now on, what's the solution? Right, okay, from now on, right, I will not scroll, for example, or from now on, I will limit this to this timing or whatsoever. You put in solution, right, for yourself. Or if you have a problem in your character. So you see, why do I flare up or why do I get, angry so easily or get annoyed so easily? What's wrong? Is it like what, why am I like that? And you remind yourself, why can't I control my temper? Why do I get just so frustrated, so easily? And then there are people who are of that nature. Right? Your nature is that you get frustrated so easily. And some people they cry and they get anxious and get anxiety and so on. Right? And there's a nature of people. So you ask yourself, why am I always like this? And then use your knowledge. Right? What have you learned? What have you learned from Minhaj al-Abidin? Right, okay. أفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد. أفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد. I entrust my matter to Allah. Allah sees His servants. I entrust my matter to Allah. Like, and then you go into zikr. It's just zikr. Everything. The solution is zikr. Everything. I don't think there's a single problem in this world whereby the solution is not zikr. Like every single problem in this entire world, even lack of money, even every single problem, diseases, family problems, kids problem, whatever, every single thing in this world, you'll find your solution in zikr. Like it's just full stop. It's just zikr. Just different forms of zikr from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. So so this is what I think what Imam Ghazali, whereby he contemplated, he took solution, even if it's meant to, even if the solution goes against your nafs and will force for you to leave everything behind, then you take it and you still take it. MashaAllah. It was, when Imam Ghazali was in his uzla, when he went into seclusion for 10 years, and even thereafter, after going to seclusion for 10 years, he came back, and he was asked to teach again. And he began teaching again, and then he realized his problems were still there. He realized that the popularity was still very real. Especially since his book spread far and wide. Right. It wasn't his book spread so far. There was once that he was in Damascus, and people at that time, right, they don't know how these scholars look like. Right? So if you're not from the same country or same town, you wouldn't know, right, how a scholar look like. You just know his books. So he was like a cleaner in the masjid, Umayyad at Damascus, when he saw, there was circles of knowledge, and there was one particular circle of knowledge that was studying his books. Right. And so, as they were studying his books, they came across a statement in his book, right, that they didn't understand. Right. So nobody in that circle understood what Imam Ghazali meant by the statement in his book. So Imam Ghazali happened to be like cleaning the mosque, and he overheard them trying to figure out what was meant by the statement. So he just said to them, I think the author, intends this and this and this from that statement, and he explained the entire statement, and the people are so amazed. Right? And then thereafter he realized they might figure out that he's Imam al-Ghazali, and he left Damascus. Right? Because he wanted to lie low and not have people know that it's him. Right, mashallah. Right, so if so mashallah, so when you take the advice from your teachers, remember Ghazali, when you surrender, right, that is one of the secrets of getting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala faster. Right, if you just follow what the righteous say, right, because the righteous, your teachers, they are like your doctors, right, inshallah. Okay, so continuing with the hadith of Sayyidina Mu'az. Naam. Right, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I shall tell you a story that it will benefit you if you learn it by heart. If you waste it, or if you neglect it, however, the evidence in your favor will be dismissed. That means, you have no proof on the day of judgment in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, O Mu'az, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the seven angels before he created the heavens and the earth. And in every heaven there is an angel in charge, a guardian over that heaven. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made on every door of his heavens an angel to guard this door that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in accordance with the states of the gate and His Majesty. So last we went through it, right? Last we went through the first few. The first one, I saw the guardian angels. The guardian angels are basically the ones who are on your shoulders, right? They're on your shoulders and they write down your good deeds, right? And also your bad deeds, right? So basically, so the whole hadith begins with a good deed without any doubt. So it's clearly a good deed, right? Clearly a good deed without any doubt, right? So, so the guardian angels, they rise, right, with a good deed that they are proud of, right? They saw this human being doing this good deed, they are amazed by the good deed, right? And then they are rising the heavens, rising the stations, right, with this good deed. Right. So as they rise and they rise and they rise, as a light and radiant beams and the sun, right? So it shows that it is a very mashallah, deed, right? So it rises all the way, right? Until when it reaches the heaven of this world, and the guardians, right, look at his work. Right? So the guardians of the, the Hafadha, they call the Hafadha, right? So they aggrandize and they exalt it and they purify it, right? And they reach the first garden, the first paradise. So the angel there, the angel in charge says, take this work and use it to strike the owner in his face. I am the overseer of backbiting. If someone is guilty of backbiting people, my Lord has commanded me not to allow his work to pass beyond me to another gatekeeper. Right. So this different gatekeepers of the heavens, they are Allah gives them insight, right, or ability to see into the deed or into the person. So the first one is backbiting. So you see, what about the hadith? There's a hadith, right, on the day of judgment, whereby Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, who are the muflis, right? Muflis meaning the bankrupt. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So he says, he asked the companions one day, who are the muflis? Right? Who are the bankrupt? And the companions answered, mashallah, the companions sometimes they don't answer, and sometimes they answer, mashallah. Sometimes they just go, Allah and His Prophet knows best. Right? Sometimes they will try their best to answer. So this kind of, and usually they try to answer, they think they know the answer. Right. So they'll try and answer. So when they ask, who's the bankrupt amongst you? And they say, Ya Rasulullah, the one who is bankrupt is the one who has no wealth at all and no work. And he's bankrupt. He has no wealth and no work. And the Prophet ﷺ said, the bankrupt, in truth, that the bankrupt is the one who comes on the day of judgment with mountains of good deeds, right? But he has insulted this one, and he has hurt that one, and he has slandered this one, or backbite that one. And so they come and they take and they take and they take and they take from his good deeds until there is nothing left. Right? But still there's a line of people that he has harmed. Right. And then they will throw onto him their bad deeds. Right. And then he will be taken and dragged and flung by his face into the hellfire. Na'uzubillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. So you see, how do these two hadiths come together? Right? Because on the day of judgment, this person is coming with mountains of good deeds. But here it says that someone who's a backbiter, right, has no the deeds are not accepted. Right. It says here, right, the deeds are not accepted of the one who backbites, the one who engages in a ghiba. أنا صاحب الغيبة أنا صاحب الغيبة أمرني ربي ألا أدع عمل من يغتاب الناس. I am told, not to allow for anyone's deeds who, if they are guilty, of backbiting. So the answer here is very simple. The answer here is for the man who is a bankrupt on the day of judgment, right? All those good deeds that he came with, and take note, the good deeds that he came with are good deeds that were accepted. Oh, subhanallah. How many of our deeds are accepted? Subhanallah. So he came on the judgment. You see, in Islam, right? When you ponder over your deeds and the acceptance of your deeds, and all these issues of backbiting and slander and whatever, right? You will think, this, that I'm just gonna be doomed. The day of judgment, I'm gonna be doomed. And then you go and you ponder over Allah's mercy, and how Allah loves to rectify, and how Allah loves to forgive, how Allah loves those who forgive. Right? And then you have so much hope, in the day of judgment. Right? So it's really like you go between the two. So one is to keep you on your toes so you don't be complacent, and the other end is for you to not be Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, right? It is for you to not go into despair. So you carry the two wings of fear and hope. Right. So naam. Right. So it is said that the one that came with mountains of good deeds, right, they were accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These were deeds that he did before he became a backbiter, or before he, was going, well, he slandered, or he insulted, or he hurt someone else. So the good deeds that he carried were good deeds of before he engaged in these sins. And that is a danger of sins. A danger of sins is that a danger of sins is that it ruins what came before. As it could have been that he was sincere and everything, to the point his deeds were all accepted. He went through the seven heavens, he went through all the seven angels, right, and got accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he's coming with those mountains of deeds that were accepted. Right? They were the accepted deeds. We're talking about deeds that were not accepted. Right? So we also ask ourselves, do we even have a mountain? Right? Do we even have a small hill, of good deeds to come with on the day of judgment? Then why are we speaking about other people, and why are we slandering and backbiting, and why are we lying? Right? Why are we hurting others? Right? We don't even have, a small good deed to give. Subhanallah. So anyway, the number so if um the angels pass by this first gatekeeper, right? So the guardian angels that ascend min al-ghad, right, the following day, right? And for them, right, they bear a righteous work that has a shining light. The guardians exalt it and increase it, and they're so amazed by it, right? And it gets past the first level. That means that this person is not someone who backbites. Like the one who does this particular deed is not someone who backbites. So they pass the first level, right? Until when they bring it to the second heaven, the angel in charge, right, إلى السماء الثانية قال الملك قفوا واضربوا بهذا العمل وجه صاحبه. He says, the angel says, stop, take this work and strike it in the face of the one who did it. He performed it for the sake of worldly gain. And my Lord has commanded me to not allow his work to pass beyond me to another gatekeeper. Right? And then so the angels will curse this person until the evening arrives. Right? So the one who did something for some worldly gain. Ya Allah, Ya Allah. And so again, we're talking about good deeds, like good deeds for a worldly به عرض dunya. They want something from the dunya, right? Subhanallah. Right. So and what we say here is that there was their only intention, right? The only purpose or goal or intention was that they wanted something from this dunya. That's why. Right. So they struck his face in with his deed. You will not get past us. Right. So again, that's how we do muhasabah. Like muhasabah. That's how we criticize ourselves. So we ask ourselves, am I engaged in backbiting, slandering? Am I engaged in any form of, sins of the tongue? Right? Then you stop yourself from doing that. Right? It doesn't from today onwards, khalas. Today onwards, I will not be speaking about other people. Okay. Then you say to yourself, and whatever I do of my deeds, is there something in there that I want from the dunya? Like, am I looking for money? Am I looking for praise? Am I looking for people to notice me? Right, and stuff like that. I suppose you ask yourself about that. Are you doing all these good deeds so you can get in, on the circle, so you can get close, right? Like for example, when people do khidmah basically service, for majlis, for good majlis, they serve the majlis. Right? Sometimes they have the intention of getting close to the hababa, close to the ustad, or close to the to the teacher, they want to get in. I don't want to get in on the closer circle. Right? And that is also part of the dunya. That you're not doing it sincerely. You just want to get favors, or you want to be recognized, or you want to be noticed. Right? So all forms of dunya. Tamam. All right. So then the following day, all right, the following day, the guardian angels then ascend with the work of the servant who takes great delight therein, including charitable giving, fasting, and much piety. So the guardian angels, they augment it, and they increase it, they exalt it, right? And they get past the first heaven, of riba. There was no backbiting by this person who did this deed. They get past the second heaven, that is of doing it for the dunya. So they get past it, right? And now they are on the third heaven. And the angel who's in charge of the third heaven says, كفوا واضربوا بهذا العمل وجه صاحبه أنا ملك صاحب الكبر. Right? The third heaven, the angel says, stop, take this work and strike its owner in the face. Right? So you see, Allah has allowed these specific angels to see into the state of the person. Right? Whereas the angels on your shoulders, they can't look into your state. They can't tell. Right? What they can see is just what you do. Right? So if you harbor in yourself all kinds of negative emotions, or if you harbor in yourself diseases, right, the angels on your shoulders can't see it, and they don't know, right? But the angels that are in charge of all these levels of paradise, Allah has given them ability, right, to look into the heart of an individual. So the angel on duty at the gate says, stop, take this work and use it to strike its owner in the face. I am the angel in charge of arrogant pride, kibr. My Lord has commanded me to not allow his soul to pass beyond me to another gatekeeper, for he used to treat people with arrogant pride at their meetings. So when he met people, he would be arrogant, in front of them in the majalisihim, and he will be arrogant, towards the people. Means he will look down on the people who are around him, right? So now again, the muhasabah. When you look at other people, right, will you look down on them? You look at other people, will you look down on them? SubhanAllah. The story that Haba Aishun informed told us the other day about this sheikh, like a big sheikh, mashallah. They came to Tarim once, and he was told that, in Tarim, many awliya here, many of the saints of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, right? Mashallah, in this land is a very blessed land. So when he came, he was invited to do the prayer and the khutbah in the masjid. So he went to the masjid, and before he entered the masjid, he saw by the side of the masjid there was a man, and this man was a rope seller, and like he would weave ropes together, and he would make ropes. Then he would sell the ropes, and he was in his simple clothing and dusty and whatever, squatting by the side of the masjid, weaving his ropes and selling his ropes. Right, ropes, selling his ropes. So this sheikh, he goes, they say everyone here is a wali. It's a rope seller by the masjid. It's not a wali. I just said that in his heart, and it was in his heart. It wasn't even in his on his tongue, it was in his heart. Like, what's this rope seller doing here? It's not, like, I'm sure not the people here are all not awliya. They're not awliya, they're not saints. Like, then he went into the masjid. So he stood, to be the imam, mashallah. Right? And when he did the takbir, like the ihram, right, he realized, when he Allahu Akbar, he entered the prayer, right? He realized that he forgot everything. Like all of his knowledge, not just the Fatiha, but how to pray. All of his knowledge disappeared. He forgot everything. And he didn't know what to do. Right? The people kept trying to prompt him. He didn't know what to do. Right? So he left. He ran away. He left the prayer and ran away. Right? And he ran out of the masjid. and then he began to walk around the streets of Tarim, bewildered, like, confused. Like he had no knowledge. All of his, he was a hafiz, he was a sheikh and everything, but all of his knowledge was gone. It's completely gone. This is the result of kibr, of arrogance. Allah can strip a person and take everything from a person because of arrogance. That's what happened to Iblis. Everything was taken away from him because he was arrogant. Right? So he was walking around the streets of Tarim and he was like, he didn't know what to do. Right. So finally he bumped into one of his friends who was there. And the friend said, what's with you? What's wrong with you? Then he said, I don't know. I forgot everything. I have no knowledge. I have no knowledge. I can't recall a single thing. Then the friend said, you must have hurt one of the awliya. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is protective over his awliya, right? Over his saints. So you cannot look down on anyone. Right? So he's protective over his saints. Allah is protective over his saints. You must have hurt one of them. So Allah yaghar. Allah is a ghira. And Allah is a ghira. Allah is protective. He took away your knowledge because you hurt one of them. And he said, but I didn't hurt anyone. I didn't hurt anyone. I didn't do anything today. And he kept thinking. He said, no, 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 no. You must think. You must think. You hurt someone today. You hurt someone today. You wronged someone today. I was thinking and he was thinking and he was thinking. Then it occurred to him, the rope guy, and the rope seller. Did I, was it him? Was it him, the one that I wronged? Then the guy said, probably, yeah, probably is this the guy that you wronged. So you gotta go to the rope seller and ask for his forgiveness. Right? Otherwise, you will not get back your knowledge. You must go and ask for his forgiveness. So he was like, I have to go to this dusty, disheveled, rope seller and ask for his forgiveness. And his friend said, do you want your knowledge back or not? I gotta be humble. Go. So okay. So he went to the rope seller. He sat by the rope seller, and he said, sorry, yeah, uncle, I'm so sorry. And he said, please forgive me. And the rope seller looked at him and smiled. And he said, forgive you for what? Right? You have not done anything to me. I never know you. Right? And forgive you for what? And then the she said, because just now, when I went past you to enter the masjid, I looked at you in disdain. And it's disdain there. I looked at you, marhaban, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Zazan. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Stunning. اشتري محاضر رسول الله محمد ولا قوة إلا بالله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله حول ولا قوة إلا بالله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله صدقت وبررت صدقت وبررت لكن الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت سيدنا محمد وصف الفضيل وأشرف يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين رب اغفر لي ولوالدي يا رب اغفر لي ولوالدي يا رب اغفر لي وإلي ورحمة الله وبارك الصغار ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذريتنا اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدنيا والآخرة صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم يا عظيم السلطان يا قديم الإحسان يا دائم النعم يا مكثر الجود يا واسع العطاء يا خفي اللطف يا جميل الصنع يا حليم العجل. صل يا ربي على سيدنا محمد وآله وسلم وارضى عن الصحابة أجمعين. اللهم لك الحمد شكرا ولك المن فضلا وأنت ربنا الحق ونحن عبيدك الرقا وأنت لم تزل لك أهلي ويسر كل عاسي وجابر كل كثير ويا صاحب كل فريق ويا مغني كل فقير ويا قوي كل ضعيف ويا كل يسر على كل عسير وتيسير عسير عليك يسير. اللهم يا من لا يحتاج إلى بيان وتفسير حاجة كثير وأنت أعلم به وخبير. اللهم إني أخاف منك وأخاف من يخاف منك وأخاف من لا يخاف منك وبحق من يخاف منك نجي من لا يخاف ممن لا يخاف منك وبحق سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. يحرسنا بعينك التي لا تنام وكنفنا بكنفك الذي لا يرام وارحمنا بفضلك علينا فذلك وأنت ثقتنا ورجاؤنا. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. رضا خلقه ورضا نفسه سنة عرش من الكلمات. اللهم إنا نسألك زيادة في الدين ونقدر في العمر وسعة في الجسد والسعة في الرزق وتشرف قبل الموت شر الموت المغفرة بعد الموت وعفوا عند الحساب وأمن من عذاب من النصر ومن الجنة وارزقنا النظر إلى وجهك الكريم. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. في كل لحظة أبدا على خلقه رضا نسجد عشر كلماته. الفاتحة. Alhamdulillah. So just to keep the story short, that so he had kibber, the man had kibber, right? So when he went past this rope seller, so he went to the rope seller and said, forgive me, or uncle, and he said, well, when I went past you, I was just looking, I looked at you with disdain. بعين الاحتقار. In Arabic, that will be the one of the diseases of the heart. I had to look at others in disdain. Right? So looking at disdain, I was disgusted by your state, and I look down on you. And by that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has punished me by taking away my knowledge. Right? Can you give my knowledge back? And the rope sweep and this rope seller, right, said, I don't any power. I have no ability to give you your knowledge back. But I can forgive you. I forgive you. Right? No, I didn't even know this happened. Right? I forgive you. Right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is displeased with you, right? For your arrogance. Right? So you have to seek Allah's forgiveness. And he says, but how am I gonna get my knowledge back? And inshallah next year I'll continue the story, right? Because we'll stop here for today. So inshallah next week we'll continue the story of how he finally got his knowledge back. Because it is from the ghira of Allah, right? That in the hadith Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, hadith Qudsi, من آدى لي وليا آذنته بالحرب. And whoever makes an enemy of a wali of mine, I will announce, I will declare war on that person, right? So not by the wali wanting it, but Allah is defensive over or protective over his awliya. There is a danger of kibr. Of course, a lot of dangers of kibr, but not to be arrogant onto anyone. You don't know who is the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you being arrogant onto that person, even in your head, even in your heart, right? Allah knows what you think about, and Allah can call you to account, right? So you need to be very wary, very, very vigilant. And the moment any of these thoughts come to your heart, you need to istighfar and tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala straight away. So inshallah, I'll do this story next week. Right, so anyway, there's some questions here. If you do things for your husband to notice, as he feels that being a housewife is not much work, you know what? You do all this work as a housewife, right? As a mother, as a housewife. You do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't you? Like, I'm sure you do. Like, you do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's because you want good deeds, and you love your family. You do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you love your family. Regardless of your husband's opinion, seriously, regardless of his opinion, even if he thinks that what you do is not much work, what does that matter? Right? what does it matter? That's not your intention. Like your intention is not, you're not trying to impress him, you're trying to show him you do a lot of work, right? That shouldn't be your intention. So even if he thinks that being a housewife is easy, up to him. That's his issues, right? His issues, correct? His issues. He's having his diseases in his heart, correct? He's having his own diseases. So if he wants to comment on you, he wants to say that you don't do enough work, he wants to say this and that whatsoever, up to him. Like you only answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So does it matter? His opinion, does it matter? It doesn't. Because you're doing what you can of good deeds. Right? Inshallah. So I would say not even to do that, not even to show off in front of your husband, to show that you're doing work. No. Right? Just why no, even if he thinks that you're doing nothing, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Right? Allah sees you. Sometimes sometimes it's not. Someone says that it's not us wanting this to happen, why is it to get a name or show off or many other bad things. It's more of the whispers. How do you, the whispers being, shaitan makes you want to mix. So basically you begin, there's a hadith about it as well. Like a man leaves his house, he wants to go to the masjid, he is only intending Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but as he walks to the masjid, shaitan comes, right? The whispers. He comes and he says to the man, and he whispers to the man, oh, I hope someone sees me walking to the masjid. I hope someone, is, in a sense, so the initial intention was pure. Then as he walks along, the shaitan comes in and tries to ruin it. That's what this entire chapter is about. This entire six hurdle, right? This whole hurdle is about that. You begin with good deeds, yes. You begin with good intentions. But as you go along, there's this struggle, and there will always be this struggle because shaitan is always on your case. Or he will always try to destroy your good deed by making you arrogant. Right? So how do we correct our intention and get back on track? You istighfar. Use istighfar, 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 istighfar. And you say to yourself, honestly, say to yourself, what are you proud about? Seriously? Like, what in the world are you proud about? Right? You want people to see you, see your name, admire you. You know your state. Be honest with yourself. You know your state. There's nothing to show off. There's nothing to be proud about. Right? So like for example, you pray more rakats and no one else praying more rakats. You know what you say to yourself? You need this. Right? You have so many sins in your life that you need to pray more rakats after the fard, and the other people don't have to because they are mashallah. And you are la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Right. That's what I will say to myself. I will say it to myself that you have to do I have to do all these things, and the people see me doing it is because I got sins. I'm full of sins. So I need to do more, because I'm so pathetic in my deeds that have no khushu' and no focus and no sincerity. I gotta do more than what anybody else has to do because they, mashallah. So you in al-i'tab, right? You tell yourself that, right? That's why you gotta do more. So you never see any worth in your deeds ever. It's a healthy thing. It's a healthy thing. No, like say it's a healthy thing. Right? Like this self, reprimanding. It's good. Right. Right. Someone asked, are angels infallible? Angels are we don't say infallible, but we say unable to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Infallible are prophets. Infallible meaning you have a choice and they don't sin. These are prophets. Angels, they have no choice. So we don't see, that they are, like in a sense, angels, they are forced into a particular way. They can't disobey. They can't. It's not in their ability. All right. Okay. Okay. So I will stop there for today. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. جزا الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم خيرا. جزا الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم هو أهله. جزا الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم خيرا. جزا الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم هو أهله. جزا الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم خيرا. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأهله. الفاتحة. أن الله يرزقنا علما نافعا وعملا خاصا ومقبول وحسن التعليم بدل الهدى ونصلي به كما النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم وإلى أرواح معاني من مشايخنا وذوي الحق علينا وإلى حضرة النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان في خسر الذين آمنوا بالصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاكم
Waalaikumsalam.
الله خير.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan jazak.